Today on the LA Food Podcast. We did it, dear listener. Father Sal and I finally made it to Los Angeles' most polarizing restaurant, and I'm not talking about Guy Fieri's Kitchen and Bar Express at the Burbank Airport. I'm talking about Jordan Kahn's Vespertine in Culver City, which reopened after a hiatus in the spring of 2024 and earned not one, but 2 Michelin Stars just a few months later. If you've heard people talk about Vespertine, then you know that it elicits strong reactions. Some people can't get enough of Chef Kahn's otherworldly creations, with Michelin describing his food as visually stunning and daringly inventive. Others, however, walk away deeply confounded, scratching their heads like the entire world in the wake of the Luka Doncic trade. I believe it was the Infatuation that called it unpleasant to consume. But what did Father Sal and I think of the experience? Listen to find out as we walk you through our entire journey in our trademark, frankly psychotic fashion. As always, please consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, and without further ado, let's chow down. The LA Food Podcast is presented by The Lonely Oyster. Unwind at The Lonely Oyster's Echo Park Night Watch. Did you know that every night is industry night at The Lonely Oyster, dear listener? Stroll in after 10 p.m. nightly for a one-of-a-kind experience designed for the night owls and hospitality pros. Indulge in $12 handshake cocktails, expertly crafted liquid chef concoctions, delicious late-night hot bites, and chef's choice dozen oysters. More than just a place to unwind, The Lonely Oyster warmly welcomes industry professionals, providing a space where like-minded individuals can connect, relax, and enjoy the camaraderie that comes with the late-night scene. Whether you're looking to kick back after a long shift or simply enjoy the vibrant atmosphere, late night at The Lonely Oyster is the perfect rendezvous for those who appreciate good company and great food and drinks. Don't miss this nightly affair and let the good times roll at The Lonely Oyster. Welcoming back to the LA Food Podcast, a man who I tried to trade for Luka Doncic, but unfortunately, the Lakers got there first. Saul, which LA restaurant do you think Luka Doncic will be spending the majority of his time at?
Ooh, good question. So he's Slovenian. I feel like, what was it, Lustig, the one that just closed? That might have been, I know it's German, but that could have been a fave.
Austrian, how dare you?
Oh, whatever, yeah. That's pretty close, right? What's the Slovenian scene like out here?
I would be hard pressed to name a single Slovenian restaurant, but I kind of think that for him was really just like, what's the unhealthiest option I can find, right?
Dude, he's just gonna be hanging out at Yard House at Staples Center. That's gonna be his go-to spot. He's
gonna do like three 3-pointers in the warm-up and then head over for a bucket of fried chicken before hitting the court. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I could very much see that. You remember that? This is not food related. Do you remember that video when they won the Western Conference Finals last year and he was drinking a beer?
Yeah.
And then the dude comes through and just like takes the beer out of his hand because it's like, all right, look, can't be doing that.
I'm pretty sure that was an exact replica of what I did to you at our live show.
No, you did not take it out of my hands. You just let me keep chugging. Anxiety chugging, nothing worse.
And that's what made for a good live show, wouldn't you say?
There you go. I suppose so. I hope so. I couldn't really see anyone in the room. I was like, all right, this is happening. Just chugging more beer.
Yeah, same. My favorite part was when the show was interrupted because the bartender, Philip, was bringing Mona Holmes a Paloma. I'll never forget that. But that's the kind of show we're running here.
That's a classy live show moment. Yeah.
Classy live show moment. Look, speaking of classiness, I invited you over to my home to finally cook you pizza, and I specifically requested that you didn't even like make a single muscle movement in your face as far as like reaction goes, because I wanted to save the reaction for the podcast. What kind of difficulty did you have refraining from saying anything in the moment?
Well, another moment in which I was drinking, and so just forgetting I wasn't supposed to. I think I did a pretty good job. I think I gave you a little bit of a or okay every so often, you know. This was, for context, this was your birthday gift to me, a pizza omakase in the backyard in your uni pizza oven, which I did not buy you, even though I said it was going to be your Christmas gift. And yeah, no, we got into it. You did an impressive little spread.
Yeah, so for context, dear listener, what I did is I I think I talked about this on a past episode, but it's really hard to actually make multiple pizzas at once in an uni oven because you can only do one at a time. So I think the best way to do it is you make an uni omakase. Listener of the pod did say you can pre-bake crusts, and that actually helps. But I decided omakase would be more fun. And so I started off with a margarita just to get things going. We moved on to a replica of the Wolfgang Puck pizza, of course, with the smoked salmon, the creme fraiche, the red onion. I even pulled out the trout caviar for you, Saul. And then I moved on to a little bit of a more creative pizza, which was a chicken tikka masala pizza. I made the chicken tikka masala the night before we had it for dinner. And I actually think, having it the next day in terms of like putting it on the pizza worked even better in my opinion, because I think the flavors had more time to melt. And then finally we closed things off with a crowd pleaser, just a sopressata hot honey pizza. Saul, what's the verdict?
I was impressed, man. You've raised the bar for our cooking adventures this year, because I'm going to try and return the favor for you for your birthday eventually. Here's how I'd rank the pizzas. Number 1, the Wolfgang Puck salmon. Crushed it. Could have been the caviar during shout out to the emasculating moment in which neither of us could open the caviar jar in front of our girlfriends and wives. Is like, just don't look. Forget this happened. Drink more wine.
But who did eventually open it?
Your wife loosened it up for you, and then you got it open. that I love that. I don't know if I'm in a bagel mood, but the creme fraiche, the smoked salmon, that really hit. The warm pizza crust underneath it. No, I was a big fan of that. Number 2 has got to be chicken tikka masala. I was impressed, man.
Oh, you liked it?
You pulled it out. Yeah. It was a great surprise. Now, I asked you what you put in your masala.
I was getting a little nervous when you did. I felt like I was getting interrogated, and I was like one wrong answer from like being cast off into like excommunication.
How'd you make this? Now it tasted very good. Let me also say this. Tasted a little white. Tasted a little white, boy.
I could see that.
I was like, there's no cayenne, there's no mirchi in this, there's no masala, there's no spice to warm it, which is important. You need the warming. And I did the butter, the butteriness, and like the fundamental like profile of the masala was there. But I was like, the spices, I don't know. I was like, there's something. You did the right thing, by the way. You told me like you sweat the spices out a little bit with the onions, right?
Yeah.
That's all correct. But I was like, maybe a little like light fingered with the spice. You got to go heavy with it. I was missing it a little bit.
I think that's a totally fair critique. I actually completely omitted any paprika or cayenne, even though I have used that in the past. But last time I made it, it was a little spicy. You probably actually would have liked it more the last time I made it. But unfortunately, it's just I was trying to cook for more than just you, if you know what I mean, without throwing anybody under the bus.
Fair enough. Now Emily, in the context of a curry, she'll eat my keema and my dal, which I will sometimes even like as a deterrent put a little extra cayenne in there.
Dastardly.
To ward her off, but then all of a sudden there's a dal missing from my fridge, so she could take it. But no, it was like, in terms of the pizza, fucking worked. I mean, I think there are places that do like a curry pizza, like just as a thing, because it makes perfect sense. It's like sauce, like you have basically tomato-based sauce. Mm-hmm. You have chicken in there, and you have the breading, which essentially functions as a naan, right, or a flatbread. So yeah, that hit. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
No, there was actually a whole article in Taste last week, I believe, actually about Indian pizza, about how it's actually a thing. There's like
what? How are we not talking about this?
Well, because you decided to skip out on the pod last week, so we didn't get to do a Chef's Kiss Big Miss. But that was in there last week because somebody wrote a great article on Indian pizza last week in Taste and was basically talking. It was an interesting article, actually. They talked a lot about like social media marketing for restaurants and stuff, but basically how like there's this entire like cottage industry of like Indian families that have taken over pizzerias and have basically like taken to putting things like saag paneer and chicken tikka masala on pizza. And it does work. I think the one issue with it is there's so much fat in the tikka masala that it gets a little bit greasy. Like that's my only issue. I would almost like want to adjust for that.
And like the famously ungreasy delight, which is pizza. You've never had to go to a New York pizza parlor and put the napkins down on top because there's so much grease in the cheese? Come on.
Listen, we're talking about real pizza here, okay?
Sure. Yeah. After that, I think the other two, the hot honey sopressata and then the margarita, I think round up the hot honey sopressata, I think was actually that was a good hit. And then the margarita was like,
Yeah.
your basic, but hey, a great night, a great birthday gift.
I appreciate you hearing that. I personally was a little bit disappointed in my dough, but you know what? I think I found some fixes. I hung out with Chef Daniele Oditi just yesterday, and I asked him, hey, I have this problem. My dough doesn't really it does expand, but it doesn't rise. Like how dough is supposed to become bigger, But what it does is it expands horizontally, and it doesn't expand vertically.
Dude, you make a chode dough?
Yeah, it's my dough. My dough needs to go to hims.com and get a plan. Basically, no, he told me you don't be afraid of yeast. Throw in more yeast and also spend more time kneading to develop the gluten in the dough. So if there's anybody out there experiencing similar problems to me, that is your fix.
Pizza performance issues.
We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about a much more illustrious meal we had just a few days ago. But before we do that, Saul, I wanted to tell you about a cool little thing that I'm doing along with a new friend that I've made. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I finally figured out, with the help of my wife, of course, the perfect way to raise some funds for the restaurants that are suffering due to being burned down by the wildfires. Did you see this, Saul?
Yeah, you sent it to me. I think I think I'm your first customer, bro. My t-shirt better be in the mail, but why don't you tell people what's up?
Yeah, so basically we partnered with this great organization called the Local Supermarket. It's a local streetwear brand that actually works with restaurants that can't afford to make their own merch, to make their merch for them, and basically gives them a large percentage of the profits. It's free money for the restaurants, right? Because they're not having to work to actually produce anything, and the local supermarket passes along a significant chunk of the revenue to them. Of course, we partnered with them to make t-shirts for the restaurants that burned down both in Altadena and in the Pacific Palisades, and we're passing along 100% of those profits to those restaurants directly. I've noticed that a lot of those restaurants have GoFundMes, and they're really struggling to get to their targets. I think, for example, Pizza Venice, they've only raised $20,000 out of their $100,000 goal. So it's been a month since the wildfires, and I think people are already starting to move on, but a lot of these places are really still fucking hurting. And we just want to raise a little bit of awareness, get them some more cash. So hopefully this can do it. It launched today. It's getting great reception. The shirts are priced very well, but also we have the shirts for the individual restaurants, but we also have a shirt that just says support restaurants. And the proceeds from that goes to Restaurants Care, which goes directly to food and beverage workers impacted by the wildfires. So it's for a great cause. They're dope t-shirts. I bought, 6 myself.
Hey, good work, man. This is a cool idea. The shirts look good. I'm looking forward to testing one of them out. I got the general support one that'll go to Restaurants Care. And yeah, dude, it'll be good.
Sick. Okay. Well, hey, as I said, I'll put that in the show notes. We've delayed long enough. We're here to talk about one thing today and one thing only. And that is the fact that Father Sal and I finally dined at Vespertine, one of the most controversial restaurants in Los Angeles, helmed by Chef Kahn. So let's start with this. Can you remind our listeners how this dinner came to be?
Yeah, whatever, man. This is a long time bet that I lost that I owed Luka. Each year we wager on the Champions League in soccer for those who are soccer fans, and I brutally lost every component of this bet last year, culminating in the final. I can't even remember who won at this point. This was a year ago.
Hala Madrid.
Oh, fucking Jude Bellingham. That's right. Yeah. Forget it. And so I've owed Luka this dinner for a long time, and we finally made it come to fruition just last Friday.
And for people living under a rock, how, I described Vespertine as the most controversial restaurant in Los Angeles. How would you describe it?
To me, I wouldn't even call it controversial. I mean, I remember what stands out to me about Vespertine is when Jay Gold ranked it number 1 in his last list, right? The reason it was controversial because he noted he leaned into the experiential part of it. It's this artistic kind of the building that they're in, the Waffle Building in Culver City was built for the restaurant. It's a theatrical almost vibe and a performance art vibe as much as a dinner. I think that threw some people off. We'd seen some negative responses to it. Bill Addison recently had returned and kind of mentioned how he thought the restaurant had become much more accessible, both food-wise and service-wise. And so I went in mostly just out of curiosity, because you got to remember, I was coming back from Mexico City, where I'd just had a couple 2 Michelin star dinners, right? Going to Quintonil and Puyol. And so I had been like recently in the world of multiple Michelin star dining, long tasting menus, chefs that are trying to, perform at the highest level of recognition and execution. And so I went in with both, like I'd say, an open mind, but slightly lower expectations than when I went to those dinners in Mexico City, in part because of the sort of mixed reviews, which I just find, after having the experience, a really interesting, the sort of response to the restaurant before I'd had the dinner, kind of interesting.
We'll get to all that. I think that's an interesting sort of preconceived notion or place to start from when you were sort of getting into this experience. For myself, I had a little bit of previous history with the food of Chef Kahn, because back in like the early 2010s, I was a big fan of his Red Medicine restaurant, which, if Bill Addison thinks this is accessible, that was like Chuck E. Cheese, it was like literally, it was obviously like very advanced for its time, but it was like kind of like a regular small plates restaurant where you could go any night of the week and, yes, get some creative food that you didn't see other places, but it was still extremely recognizable. But everything I'd heard about Vespertine since then, I honestly thought this dude had gone off the rocker. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I think he'd like kind of gone off the grid, like almost like Kanye in My Twisted Dark Fantasy mode, where he like shells up in like a Hawaiian studio and nobody hears from him. And instead of coming back with a masterpiece, came back with something that was really, really controversial. And the reason I use that word is because maybe controversial isn't the right word. Polarizing is the word I'm looking for.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was polarizing?
No. Now I've transitioned to talking about Vespertine.
Yeah. But no. But in this analogy, you're suggesting that was also I'm just noting it's the best album of the 2010s. So
no. I made a distinction which you clearly missed. I said in contrast to My Beautiful Twisted Dark Fantasy, where it's called.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I was zoning out. I'm sorry.
As I'm sure most of our listeners do. This was more polarizing, okay? This was more polarizing than that album by the now canceled Kanye West, okay? And so going into this, I'm not gonna lie, dude, I was excited, but like I was excited in the same way that I was excited to like go to a show, I wasn't like necessarily like we're gonna eat some amazing like food that's gonna satisfy me. I was very much planning on like going to tacos after, if you know what I mean.
Right. Well, also, you have a preconceived bias against tasting menus. We've talked about this on the podcast before. You talked about how tasting menus often leave you dissatisfied, or that you don't. I think that was the main thing, and like they're overpriced. Of course, not a concern for you during this particular dinner, and so I was wondering. We even had a conversation as we were walking in the door, and I was like, dude, when's the last time you went to an experience like this, like tasting menu, fine dining at like the highest level of both price and recognition? And you were like, dude, I can't, like maybe when we went to Cartagena or something, and that wasn't even necessarily at the level of a 2 Michelin star place. So yeah, I thought you were going to come. Wasn't sure how you're going to respond to this, given those prior biases.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to some expensive omakase dinners in like the last couple years. I've definitely had some tasting menus, right? But nothing that quite like rises to this level of like opulence, or like definitely nothing 2 Michelin star, right? So this was something that was a bit of a departure from what from the peasant food I've been dining on for the last couple of years. Yeah. So let me ask you, how hard was it to snag this reservation? Because obviously I wasn't involved in that because I won the bet.
Not hard. Actually, we've talked about since our dinner going to Meteora, which was more recently awarded a 1 star by Michelin and is kind of in center, like in mid-city. Much harder it seems to get a Meteora reservation than a Vespertine reservation, which I find interesting. I wonder if the part of that is the sort of mixed reception Vespertine has had at times. It's also not as like, I mean, this is now Vespertine 2.0, right? But it's been around for a minute, and maybe that's why it's like cooled off maybe a little bit, but it was not too competitive to get a Friday night reservation at Vespertine.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that the price point probably influences that. Not to mention, I think we're hearing everywhere that like dining rooms in general are struggling to get people in, and I assume that only applies more so to a restaurant of Vespertine's price point. But yeah, good to know. If we want to go back, sounds like we can snag a res relatively easily. Look, before we actually get into the experience of going into the building, I just want to quickly note that when I arrived, I was greeted by a surprise. Care to share?
Yeah, so I noticed in the videos you've been posting that you were sporting a mustache, and I was like, this dude can't pull off a mustache. Like what is this Joker doing? And so to basically troll you or mock you, we showed up. First of all, we wore suits because we were like, why not? Let's do it up. And I shaved my beard into a mustache to kind of essentially to like hold a mirror up to you and be like, this is what you're doing. Do you understand? And then we show up in our suits and stashes, and I'm like, bro, we look fucking good. This looks sharp, man.
Yeah, the mirror you held up to me was a mirror of beauty, my man, because we both looked like $1,000,000, honestly. And I was wearing a Sabrina Carpenter shirt under my suit, too.
Yeah. You gave the bare minimum, but it was a fucking vibe, man. I still got my stash. I've been telling people have been looking at you like stash, look at me like mustache. Okay, what's the story behind that, dude? My dad, who's been sporting a mustache since high school, is gonna be thrilled when he hears this back.
Has he not seen it yet?
No, he hasn't. I'm going out to Florida, going down to Florida next weekend. I'm going to surprise him with it. Dude, back in my 20s when I wasn't bringing, girls home to my parents very much at all, like literally at all, I should say, my dad, and they were concerned for my, future prospects as a potential married man. My dad, as his advice was like, try a mustache. I was like, is this your only move? He was like, you should do it. And I was like, I don't think it's going to work. Man, I'm looking at my face now in this video, and it's working, man. It's working for me.
It is working. It's working for me too, honestly. I need to go take a cold shower after this. The funny thing about this too is your dad's a very successful consultant, right? So the fact that his advice was mustache, it's maybe you should have listened is what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. The man's never wrong.
Hey, look, let's set the scene, all right? You've actually already described the building a little bit, but let's describe about what it was like to walk into it, right? The first thing we did when we walked into is it's a 3-story building, and we were immediately escorted to the 3rd floor because our amazing server Nico asked us if we wanted to see the kitchen, and of course we said yes. Saul, how would you describe the kitchen?
The kitchen was kind of wild. So it was completely, and I'm sure they're doing this for us. First of all, I'll say I thought it was going to be more than 3 floors. And for folks who don't know, Vespertine always, and this is part of the whole performance art aspect, has been a marriage of architecture and food, right? Like I think Chef Jordan worked with an architect who was building stuff in the Culver City area to design the space. And the kitchen we go up to, it's quiet, man. It reminded me of The Bear. Actually, this is like a pathetic. I feel like that's like sad as fuck. But like that in The Bear, they draw comparisons to the chaotic, low execution kitchen versus the quiet, calm control and order of a high execution kitchen. And we were sitting there, and our host Nico was kind of answering our questions about how they do their work and like how they execute, and the place is quiet.
Yeah.
Like everyone, and to be clear, like 8 people are working vigorously.
Yeah.
Like in front of us, preparing the meal, and it's silent. It's chill, and it's like you feel. I felt guilty. I always do this apparently when I walk into kitchens. Like when we saw Diego back at Poltergeist, I was like, I feel like we're in the way. It feels like bad. I don't want to bother these people, but it was part of the performance.
Yeah, that's funny too, because at Poltergeist we were so clearly in the way. Like we were literally in a walkway and stuff, and Diego was running around us. Whereas here there was an actual little area for us to stand in, so we were very much not in the way. The kitchen was separate from that area. It actually reminded me of have you heard of these fancy new soccer stadiums? I think Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has this, where you can pay a fuck ton of money to be in one-way glass around the players tunnel, and just
that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's terrible. I don't like that at all.
You could pay to be in one-way glass around the players' tunnel as they're getting ready to go into the match, and they can't see you, but you can see them, and that's what this reminded me of. I felt like I was a voyeur.
For the record, I think that Yeah. I think that is called two-way glass, just so you know. But
Is it what? But why is it called two-way glass?
because I think you can see through the mirror in both directions. I'm pretty sure it's called two-way. Just correcting you, but
I actually think you're right, and I was gonna call it that, but then I was thinking about the practicality about how you can only see through it one way, not the other.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't name it, but anyway, just correcting you.
ESL, the beauty of being ESL. Yeah, but anyways, so that was the kitchen. I mean, I have to say, Nico was super helpful in answering our questions. I think the most interesting thing that I heard in that exchange was we asked him, is Chef Jordan here tonight? And he said, he's not actually here right now. He's actually spending 60% of his time over at Meteora and 40% of his time here at Vespertine. And the goal of that is really to try to get Meteora its second star. I thought that was a pretty interesting tidbit.
Interesting tidbit in terms of how Chef Jordan spends his time, and also relevant to a later part of our meal as well, which I thought was interesting. To me, the most interesting tidbit we got from Nico during that first part of the meal before we sat down was we asked him how he develops the menu. And Nico's like, I don't know, hopefully that is proprietary. I assume it's not.
If they told us, we didn't say off the record. So
basically, Jordan, and I'm sure this is how it works in a lot of places, but he was like, yeah, Jordan has like a research team and like a set of chefs. And we were like, wait, do those chefs work in the restaurant? And he was like, just research chef, like literal, like creative experimentation for the menu, which is going to turn over in a couple months here, they said at Vespertine. And I was like, dude, that's got to be the coolest job. Just like your job is to hang out and just be creative and come up with the craziest new or like the coolest new ideas in food, like at Vespertine. That's dope as hell.
Is it the coolest job or the most terrifying job?
It's kind of both.
And maybe this speaks to our personalities. Yeah.
No, it is kind of both, right? Like I could never do it. Like I could never do that just from like I'm not a creative. Well, first of all, and also just being like, I guess I just fuck around here and come up. But it reminds, again, it's like, that's got to be a really, and also it seems like, we don't know the details of this job or whatever, but like, it seems like without the daily pressure and daily grind of the kitchen, which I'm sure is appealing in its own ways for some, but like, just being like, my job is to come up with ideas and to figure out how, like, what we're going to bring forward to this menu. Cool as hell.
Cool as hell. I think my fear would just be like that my brain just stops working and I can't think of anything,
You show up with just pancakes.
Well, funny you say that because
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Anyways, we'll get to that. Okay, look, that was our entry into Vespertine. We were then escorted down to the second floor, which is the main dining room. Okay, it's a relatively small dining room. It seats about 20. What was the vibe as we entered the dining room?
When are we going to talk about how much we like this meal, by the way? But I feel like we're really slow rolling. But anyway,
we're building to it.
Yeah. Okay, fine. It was kind of like a Scandinavian-y vibe, like kind of menu-y, honestly, in the dining room in a good way. And like it was simple, like black tables. But I said the tables, interestingly, like slide out when you come in, and they slide back in, and basically seating's for no more than 4 people, I think. We were in a 2-seater booth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Chill vibe. One of the most interesting aspects of that dining room, though, because like open, like we were essentially facing out towards a couple other tables, and everyone's talking right at their little space. Somehow the acoustics in that room, which is also open, like you can like open down to the first and third floors on this second floor platform. It felt like you had like a warm sort of like audio, like white noise happening around you with the other tables, but you were in your own bubble. I could hear you perfectly the whole time. There was like kind of like ambient music going on, and it was both like warm and energetic and entirely not disruptive to like our table.
Yeah.
And it's like a really, I have to assume like thought was put into the acoustics of the building, and it was like a really cool experience. Just like it's something I appreciate increasingly as I get older. My hearing gets worse. and I was like, whoa, this is like a really interesting actual like phenomenon here.
Yeah, you were like weirdly stuck on the acoustics. I'm gonna like add on. It's not like Scandinavian. It feels like if a Scandinavian country designed an international space station is what it felt like.
Oh, interesting.
It felt like Scandinavians, but challenged to design something for like 2050 on Mars. That's what it felt like. And then the ambient sound you're describing is actually, from what I understand, like custom music that an actual Icelandic composer put together for the restaurant. So, you kind of feel like you're like just experiencing nature on a fjord or something. And at first, I was a little thrown off by it, maybe just because the experience hadn't started yet, right? And so like we weren't in it, It felt like at the start I was waiting to like get pumped up, right? And I just wasn't in the mood for that music. However, that changed as the meal went on. By the end of it, I was like, what is this fucking song? How do I put it on my Spotify? I'm so into this,
No, I kind of also had the vibe. Like the music had a drama to
Yes.
it, right? Like it was like a, but now the drama of like a show, like or a concert. It was a drama of like, to me, it was like kind of a cool museum exhibit vibe. Like you're walking through a planetarium or something. Like that was the energy. To me, I liked it from like front to end. I was like, oh yeah, this is the vibe. It's very much like, because the music's not what you're there for, like, but it kind of like set a level of drama for an anticipation for me for the meal.
Yeah. Maybe I just had a little PTSD because it was a little reminiscent of episode 1 of season 3 of The Bear, that like Trent Reznor soundtrack.
The only good episode of the whole season. Yeah.
The worst episode of The Bear to date.
You just don't understand. You just don't understand art.
That might be true. All right, look, let's talk about the food, okay? So actually, let's talk about wine first, because before we actually get any food, they ask you if you would like to enjoy a pairing for the night, and they give you 3 different options. One is an actual wine option, one is a non-alcoholic option, and the third is something they call the dynamic option. And Saul, this was all on him because he's the one picking up the check. I just looked at him and said, "This is on you, bro. You opted for the dynamic option. First, tell us what it is, and B, why you picked it."
The dynamic pairing basically means it's a mix of like wine, non-alcoholic, and other drinks like beer and sake, right? And it's basically, to me, the reason I chose it is because it read to me as here's what chef would choose if he could choose any. Like if you want your like fancy wine experience, cool, you do that. If you want non-alcoholic, of course you go for that. Dynamic to me read as this is like looking across the beverage spectrum, like what we would ultimately recommend if we had no limits on what to go for. The price point was a little bit more friendly than the wine option, also.
Yeah,
I'll note that. But no, I didn't want a whole wine pairing. I want to like let's go through and it seemed like the most, to its name, the most creative kind of set of drinks.
Yeah, I was actually stoked you picked that. I would have been somewhat happy if you picked the wine pairing because it's more value and you're paying for everything, right? But I actually was most interested in the dynamic pairing, and I think we ultimately were very impressed with it, and we'll get to that. All right, look, I want to start talking about the food, and I would sort of break the courses we got, which I think in the end were 14 different courses, into 4 different sort of categories. The first category I would classify as like the crudos and the salads, the like first 3 bites that we got that night. Course 1 was a wild scallop with passion fruit and ají amarillo. It was paired with a really nice champagne, which I asked a really dumb question about. Course number 2 was called the Seasonal Paradox, and it was basically a combination of snap peas and kiwi, and it was paired with a kiwi juice laced with oxalis, our absolute favorite, and verbena. Course 3 was called Deep Ocean, and it consisted of a sweet prawn with mountain rose apple. It was served in this massive like ice block, and it was paired with a sake known as kuheiji. Saul, what'd you think about the start to this meal?
Finally, we can talk about the fucking food here. So, like, this was like from especially courses 1 and 2, the scallop and the Seasonal Paradox, which I'm sure if you've followed Vespertine and are listening, have maybe seen a picture of. It's that very Instagrammy bowl filled with flowers. Those 2 dishes hit, and you were like, oh yeah,
yeah.
Like I immediately there was like I came in like really like pretty just like looking forward to it, but also with like low enough expectations where like it was unlikely I was going to be disappointed because of like those kind of quote unquote warnings about inaccessibility. And like I had in my mind, like maybe I'm going to eat something really weird tonight that I don't like.
Reindeer penis?
Right? Like, yeah, just like it's possible. You're a parent go-to. And as soon as those 2 hit, I'm like, oh, we're in for a night.
Yeah.
Like we're in for a night. Like this is going to be fucking awesome. This is even you asking our waiter, where is, when he brought our champagne, where are the grapes from? And he's like, champagne. Even that didn't dampen the the great opening to this meal. I mean, the seasonal paradox dish. It was like, holy fuck it, like, holy shit, dude.
Do you want to explain why it was called seasonal paradox?
I think, and so, which also reminds me, right off the bat, between Nico bringing us up in the kitchen, and what was our waiter's name at the table? I can't remember.
Kiefer.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like Kiefer and Nico were honestly like two amazing highlights of the meal. But when I told my wife their names, it was like I said them out loud, and I was like, oh, they sound like characters in the menu. Like Nico and Kiefer, those are such fucking the menu names.
Incredibly warm and friendly service. And the reason why I was reminded of this when you asked me about seasonal paradox is because they were explaining in detail kind of the source of each of the dishes, which apparently is a new thing according to Bill, who said pre-Vespertine 2.0, they would just be like, here's a dish, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck am I eating? Which actually, I wouldn't be even surprised if that, like, for sure makes it less, like, when you're eating it, even if it was the same exact dishes, you're like, but what? Like, what? I don't know what to expect. Seasonal paradox, I believe, as Kiefer explained it, was because snap peas are technically out of season right now, or it's with, and they're typically sweeter at a different point in the year, but in California they're sweet now, and that's the thing that Chef Kahn apparently likes about like the kind of the nuance or like the quirkiness. It's a quirk he's interested in that vegetable, and so he makes this dish from it, and it was like you're already being like I'd say dish one was like high execution scallop with like some real creativity, the horseradish in the dish, which you're like, horseradish,
yeah.
Season number two, you're like 3 Michelin star, like what the, like wow, you're blown away.
Yeah.
And then Deep Ocean, I think, would be the most simplistic of the three. They tell a really cool story of the background of where they sourced the prawns that were in the dish, but you have it and you're like, okay, like this wasn't quite as successful though, served in an ice block, and that was very exciting.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. That first bite of that scallop, I was like, that's when I felt like I was there. You know what I mean? Like I felt like it was like welcome, and this is going to be good as fuck. Like literally, like I just wasn't expecting, as dumb as this sounds, I wasn't expecting the food to taste good. I just wasn't. I was expecting it to be challenging. You know what I mean? Like I was expecting it to be really impressive, but challenging. And when we had the scallop dish, it was so instantly recognizable and like still very interesting with that sort of like horseradish pairing that I was like, we're in for a fucking night. It reminded me of when I listened to the Blink-182 album, Take Your Pants Off and Jacket, for the first time. And the opening song is Anthem Part 2. And the moment that guitar hits, you're like, my life has been forever changed. You know, it was that kind of goodness. I will say, course 2, I share your sentiments. Course 3, I think I was a little less hot on than you were. I actually thought it was our worst dish of the night. And it's not because the sweet prawn wasn't good or what they paired it with wasn't good. I thought as cool as the ice block was, for me at least, it had the impact of literally freezing what was on it.
Yeah.
And so I had trouble getting it off the ice block. And then when I put it in my mouth, it tasted frozen. It was hard to like make out a lot of flavors. That said, I really enjoyed the pairing of it with the sake.
Yeah.
And that's where the dynamic pairing really hit. I had to keep reminding you to like drink the thing that we were trying to pair with because you're so not used to drinking while you eat. But I feel like this was the moment where you're like, oh yeah, I finally get pairing.
Literally, I had like that moment in Ratatouille when he's explaining to his rat brother, like, here's how like cheese and grapes taste together, like, taste good together. I normally do not like drinking alcohol when I eat. You know, like I drink it before the meal, I eat, I drink it after the meal. I don't like
drink a lot of it after.
Yeah, as much as I want. But while I'm eating, I'm like, this just messes with the flavor. And this is the very first time, like a literal eureka moment where I was like, oh shit, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I get it. And especially with the dynamic pairing with the sakes and the wines when they had it and all that, like I think that's why we went for the right choice. I'm sure the wines they choose for the non-alcoholics are also great, but it was like a perfect marriage of food and beverage in a way that I'd never experienced. It was so dope. Like literally, also shout out to the way they designed the menu, because really loaded up the alcohol in the first half of the meal. Like we were 4 dishes in, and I'm like, bro, I think I'm a little drunk here. But then they ease it off on the second half.
Well, also we got like the complimentary glass of champagne when we walked in. So like by course 3, and these are like, it's the beginning of the meal, so they're smaller courses. They're coursing things out so you won't be too full by the end of the meal, right? So you've had your lightest courses and you're already 4 drinks in. It's a little nuts.
Yeah. I mean, literally also, not to be underestimated, especially coming off my experiences in Mexico City, the timing of the courses and the coursing itself,
yes,
literally perfect. Like insanely perfect.
Perfect.
Like I
perfect.
At Puyol, I think I might have mentioned that I had to wait at one point 45 minutes between 2 courses in the 7-course tasting menu, and you're like, why the fuck am I like? What's going on? Like, what's that?
No, this was like a dance, dude. Literally, it was perfectly choreographed, and like, we commented on it throughout the night how absolutely perfect the timing of each course was. I think we actually waited a little more, like going into the transition courses, but that was also perfect because we had just like waited.
Yeah, the point is to slow down.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're slow, like it's like the falling action after the climax of the part 2 of the menu that you've laid out here.
Yeah. So part 2, I felt like there was a definite vibe shift when this next dish hit the table and it transitioned to the more like entree-esque courses. Course 4 was perhaps the most like, I don't know, like talked about / Instagrammable dish that a lot of people take pictures of, and that is the obsidian mirror. You may have seen it. It's basically like this black box that has on top of it this like iridescent sort of like mousse, and what it is, it's a smoked mussel mousse with plum, and they paired it with this super crisp, kind of funky Austrian white wine called Kolfak, I think. They serve it to you with like this beautiful mussel shell, and you basically use the mussel shell to scoop out the mousse. This was a fucking delight, is the only way I can explain it.
Yeah. This is also the part of the meal, because I'd seen the obsidian mirror dish talked about in reviews before, where I started thinking like, dude, I'm happy. I'm not just happy I'm not a critic, I'm also happy that we don't approach food with criticism in mind. As trying to flex on what we're eating in other on other diners by being like, here's where this dish is like failing in balance. Like, dude, this is just fun. It was like even it was like no matter, it's like approaching food with the open mind and the open sort of like posture to just enjoy it. Like, yeah, this is, it already was hitting like that, but this is like specifically the point where I'm like, I'm just glad I enjoy food.
Yeah.
And like want other people to enjoy food.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, man, this was great. And as we hit, this was like, you could call this like almost like a semi appetizer still. It was kind of like maybe the exclamation point on the appetizers a little bit before you start getting into the hot dishes and protein. But like, I'd say
like, if you're really thinking about like traditionality, this is almost like the soup course before the entrees really hit, right? But like it's transitioning into something warmer, into something savory, like hyper savory, because the first 3 dishes are like intensely like fruity, I would say, actually. I don't know, man. It just really hit. I was like, I want like a tub of this stuff, because it was that tasty. I didn't expect it to be that tasty. It was hyper savory. It was really, really well done. And of course, from there, we get to like what I would call the sort of 3 entree courses of the dish of the dinner, right? Course 5 was called the Deep 7. I thought it was salmon, but what it was actually, it's a super rare. Hey, okay, I thought that when I first saw it. Okay,
it doesn't even look like salmon, dude.
It looked a little like a salmon,
a little pink. It looked a little pink, maybe.
But what it turned out to be was this super rare fish from Hawaii called kinky fish, Kinki, not Kinky. You fucking pervert! It had a sort of red papaya paste and a sizable Indian mallow flower, quite a large flower. I was like, this is a huge flower. I'm not sure how this is going to work. But basically, you were supposed to like take the flower, put the piece of fish that had been like, I think like lightly smoked at the table, actually.
Yeah.
And then you put it in the flour. You sort of like, you sort of have a little bit of that paste on there. And it's pretty much a one-biter, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And they paired it with a kombucha, a rhubarb kombucha with red currant. Saul? Thoughts on this dish?
I mean, I almost want to talk about the next 4 together. So like it was this fish dish, like the Coturnix. So this fish kicked off the first like hot dish, right? You have the bite and you're like, let's fucking go. At this point, this is where I transitioned the meal from, each dish coming out and you're just like, wow, the beauty, the blah blah blah. Like, oh, we're here for a good time. right? Like Kiefer's taking us through each dish, the meaning of it, why Chef Kahn developed it, what he finds interesting about it, and serving it. And now this is just, these next four are just, and it might have been alcohol, but are just flow. Just like flow, right?
And in a weird way, even though they're so well thought out and like so intentional, it felt like a we eaten. Like we are eating now. Like the meal is here. You know what I mean?
It was comforting. When you get into course 6, the Quaternix quail served with quail egg yolk emulsion. So we got a quail breast. And like they had the whole story behind where the quail was sourced from. Perfectly cooked.
Oh my God.
With this emulsion to dip the breast into. Right? Like little finger food. Having a little fun at the table, man. Like,
dude, it was sex. Oh, you know what we compared it to? We compared it to what is the name of the bird that they eat in succession where they have to throw the napkin over their head?
Oh my God, I had it on me on dinner. Yeah. Like it was so good. It was shameful. Like you wanted to, like you were having so much fun, like so pleasurable that we almost like you cover your face, man. Like as you're eating it, you're like, I'm so happy. And the lovely part about it, going straight from the duck breast, dipping into the emulsion, into the second half of the quail course.
Wait, real quick. It's ortolan.
Ortolan. Yeah, that's right. I was having much more of a Tom than a Greg experience with our quail here, where I was like, oh, it's so good.
No, but we definitely were, because we both pretty much looked at each other and gave each other the buckle up fucklehead eyes is what we did.
And then they told us this was coming, but this quail breast, they then bring out a Hoya Santa leaf, Hoya Santa leaf stuffed with quail sausage, drizzled in tart reduction, as well as oat porridge bread fried in quail fat, like a little almost like disc, like a puri. I told you from like Indian and Pakistani cuisine, and then you could literally make with because you were still eating the quail breast as it comes out. You tear open the fried bread. You put some of the quail egg emulsion in to the bread, put on a piece of quail breast, have it like a sandwich. I mean, look,
dude, Kiefer looked at us and almost challenged us. He gave us like a flirty little look and was like, "Some people make a sandwich out of this," and we're like, "Let's fucking go."
And think like as you're eating that, you're thinking. I mean, now I'm thinking back to like what we've been told in the negative reviews of Vespertine about it being inaccessible, and like maybe what. What's the word? Like when you think you're like on your high horse and like think you're the shit, like
pretentious or
whatever, condescending, pretentious is the word, right? It's like, think you're pretentious. We're eating quail with our fingers, making sandwiches. Out of like these insane ingredients. Like, my God, it was like the happiest I can remember being eating a meal in a while, dude.
It was fucking epic, and it was served alongside one of the nicest Barolos I'd ever had. I think this was where they said this is where they invented Barolo, and they got the wine from there. And it was just like the absolute perfect pairing. Course 8, the sort of final part of this like section of the meal, and really the end of like the savory courses, was a pine-fed lamb with a little bit of foam on top, which I think was what they call yeast fudge, which sounds like something you should get medical attention for, but it was actually this just hyper savory foam that enhanced everything, and it had these little leaves around it, which I believe are magnolia, and it was served alongside this absolutely gorgeous Belgian beer called Brewery 3. Dude, this one brought us home.
Dude, best beer I've ever had in my life. I'll say number one.
And you've had a few.
And I've had a few, and I've tried. Dude, an amazing thing. This is like the exclamation point on the main part of the meal, right? This is your red meat protein. And just like, I mean, the land, like everything we should say also, I mean, it almost goes without saying, but just cooked to perfection, just like melting in your mouth, seasoned to perfection.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. Like you're learning, like we hear about Top Chef all the time. Tom being like, it's under seasoned, or blah, blah, blah. Missing. And you're like, and I eat, we eat out all the time, and we eat food that tastes delicious, and I'm sure it is well seasoned. I was like, oh no, this could not be made better.
Right.
This couldn't be made better. This is like, this tastes exactly like so intentionally in its preparation and execution and appreciation for the ingredient, which they put in such pains to go and source, right? Like, and it's treated like, I mean, like it's like fucking sounds corny as hell. Like you're like, damn, it's a privilege to be eating this right now. This is like, like
I felt the same way, dude. I also felt the same way with like, so the other thing, dear listener, is that like Saul and I, for the entirety of this meal, we pretty much refrained from like telling each other what we thought of the food.
That's not true. What are you talking about? We were looking at each other like, holy fuck, dude, this is the best.
Well, no, but that was the intention. Like, I think the intention was to like, save it for the pod, bro. Save it for the pod.
Oh, like in terms of detail response.
Yes,
right,
detail.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't help it. Like, we couldn't help but like really make it known how we felt. For me, the great thing about this course, like, and great with like a capital G, was the pairing.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I think the dynamic pairing really pays off, because like, I mean, it's been paying off the entire time, don't get me wrong, but like the sort of like audacity to pair this beautiful red meat with a beer when like most people would pair it with like the nicest red wine you absolutely could was a genius move.
Yeah.
Like, it was absolutely genius. I was sipping on that beer and I was like, I don't think there's a single thing that would taste better being drunk with this lamb right now. Like, it was just, like the tartness of it, the sort of like, it was a Belgian beer, right? So it had that sort of like weedy aftertaste type thing.
Well, yeah, it's a wheat beer that we were having. Yeah.
But it's like, it's that, but elevated with like the perfect degree of fermentation, just picked up everything perfectly on the lamb. And again, so almost like courageous to pair beer with that.
Well, you said, to your point, there was the yeast fudge and the yeastiness of the beer, and also the sour notes of the beer, complementing the richness of the lamb. Like, yeah, man. Oh, can we go back?
It was poetry. Yeah, honestly, I'll
get out of my lease. Fuck rent. Let's go back to Vespertine.
Dude, this is gonna sound super cheesy and sort of like cutting to the end, but like, as we're talking about this, I'm so glad we're recording this, because how many times do you have a great meal and you forget about it? I'm so glad that we're like talking about this so we can go back and like relive this, because it was truly that kind of an experience.
Yeah, I mean, and we also got our menus with us, which they gave us at the end of the night. I also note, as my menu's next to me, they gave you the phase of the moon. Do you notice this? It says waxing crescent, illumination, 7%. And I was like, I will also say, actually, here's a good time to say it.
Yeah.
So there's this Vespertine is conceptual, like, or is presented, right, in the way they kind of tell their story and brand themselves as like this experience, not just a meal. It's a little bit just a meal. Like, it's not like the whole like, oh, art blah 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 stuff. Like, I was like, I get it in terms of how it's expressed in the food. Totally. And there is the storytelling that Kiefer and Nico gave us along the way, the next course being a particularly strong example of it. But I was like, you know what? Maybe that's where the pretension is, maybe a little bit. I don't care. But like, because the food is just, and like giving us the moon cycle on the menu or whatever. Cool. Do your thing.
Yeah, but I like that. It's their choice to like, maybe, okay, this is like a great sign of how impressionable I am now that I like love Vespertine. Like, everything they do is like fucking perfect to me. But like, even the like moon part, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just their way of acknowledging the specific moment when you were there. And I just think that that's good hospitality. That's razzle dazzle.
Yeah, it's immersion too, right? It's like, this was like you go into this dinner, and it's not a cheap dinner. We'll get to that, but you're like, but it's really like this. You're gonna remember this, and to your point, I wouldn't need to record it to remember this, man. Like, this is like like you are transported in a way, right? It did feel like we were. Then maybe I should take back what I said then, therefore, about performance, but like, you are in it. You forget to, you turned to me at one point. And you were like, I've lost all sense of time and space.
Yeah, it's true.
Literally, you said to me.
I felt that way.
Because you just felt like you were just like on this spaceship.
Yeah,
like,
I felt that way.
Like totally, dude.
All right, look, let's move to part 3 out of 4. So at this point, we finished the savory courses. They move us down to the first floor, which is a completely different vibe. It's a little darker. There's like really plush, beautifully designed like couches, I would say, and really like also stunning like very heavy tables. I judge tables based on their heaviness. And at first, before moving to dessert, they give us the transition courses, which, you know, you're not ready to say goodbye to the savory. They want to ease you into the sweet. And so course 9 is something they call the red earth. It was a sort of, I would describe it as like a chawanmushi. It was served with like a lily bulb, which is the root of the lily flower, strawberry. They also, on our menu, listed temescal, but when I Googled temescal, what came up is a ritual originated in the pre-Hispanic era to purify, cleanse, and reconnect with oneself and nature. So I don't think that was actually included in the dish.
It was included in the story of the dish. This is when Nico came down and told us, like, where the dish was inspired was that Chef Kahn and his wife had visited Mexico and gone to this, like, you know, however, like, ancient palm tree, and they'd done the ceremony. I will say at this part of the meal, I was like, I think Chef and I wouldn't hang out. I don't think I have the same vibe. That's like the level of appreciation and zest for life maybe that he does, and ability to transform these experiences into delicious food. But thank you for doing it. I will say this was in terms of experimentation, like as a creative dish. I'm sorry to say this. I hope it doesn't hurt Chef's feelings. Like maybe the thing where I was like, okay, like it was the most like maybe challenging dish if I remember correctly. Like just in the sense of like I'm eating this and I'm maybe not getting it as much as I got some of the early dishes, right? But
I think that's just because our minds cannot comprehend. I just genuinely like I loved it. I actually loved this dish. This is exactly what I wanted after what we just ate. And I think what really sealed the deal for me is the pairing again. They for the dynamic pairing, they filtered it with this unfiltered sake, which is, if you've ever had unfiltered sake, like, I don't know, it's almost like having the mezcal equivalent of tequila. There's just an added element to it, right? Which to me kind of just puts the experience on a different level. And paired with this, what I would describe as a chawanmushi, and I'm sure some people will be like, fuck you, but that's how it ate to me. It was very savory as well, paired with that kind of sweet sake. I was like, I feel like I'm transitioning. I felt like I was transitioning, bro.
The sake was like naughty water, bro. Mm-hmm. It was so delicate, man. Like it was good. It was fun. But like these transition courses in particular were like the next dish, which is the black truffle served with caramelized milk, sunchoke, pecan, and porcini mushroom. It's like, bro, it's a joke, man. It was so good. It was, yeah.
It was so savory. Again, this is an add-on, but like this was just a hyper savory mousse, basically, right? Like dusted with truffle. This was one of those things where you're just like, this would be good on any menu anywhere. It didn't have to be at Vespertine. Course 11 was also transition course, and again, I think anybody would have liked this. That is a caramelized pancake. It's caramelized in lamb fat. It's served with a really sort of like thick cream and a really delicate berry compote, and then it's also got a little bit of single malt scotch. I believe it was Lefroy, and that was like extremely accessible. But the final transition dish is what I want to spend a little bit of moment on, and that is another add-on, but what an add-on. It was sea urchin, uni, with white chocolate, wild kelp, and port.
Yeah.
So this was the one where I took a bite and I just started giggling, and you started giggling at me. It was one of our most tender moments.
You read it on the mirror, or it's explained to you as it's put down. You're like, uni, white chocolate, port, and kelp. Okay. And it's that was like the flex dish, right? It's like, because it's perfect. That one also was like, you have a bite and you're like, balance. Nothing. No one would think, I'm gonna have a little white chocolate with my sea urchin, please. Right? I don't think anyone would like pour some port over it, please, if you will. Also, on my seafood, pour some port on my delicate seafood, right? And like, you have a bite and you're just like, and it's just like perfect sense in the mouth. Like,
it was one of the most like, I can't even, like, simply complex dishes, right? Like, it was so simple. Like, it's not that deep. You know what I mean? Like, it's really is as simple as it sounds. It just works. And it made me wish that people would put uni on more things and less caviar. That's where I'm at.
Good take. I think that's a good take.
Look,
Essentially, I have to think about it actually a little bit more, but yeah, generally good take. I mean, but also just a real quick shout out to the caramelized pancake. Again, when you talk about accessibility, and it's like it reminded me again of the quail sandwich, quote unquote, that we made, right? Where it's just
yeah,
like I remember we sit down, and it's like you're like in the nicest diner you could imagine, right? This is food that's fun and it's ambitious,
yeah.
and it's creative, and you can tell how much the chefs challenge themselves in trying to develop them, and then you're kind of spilling cream on down your chin eating a pancake. It's a fucking blast.
It reminds me of like, yeah, you are almost in these moments like transported to your childhood. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's really cheesy to say, and I think they make fun of that in satires like The Menu, right? But like it is really what it feels like. There's an element of play in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, playful out is what I would describe it. I'm not gonna say I was transported to my childhood. I don't think anything does that for me, but but specifically like
you're telling me not one thing transports you to your childhood?
No, time only moves forward, bro. There's no going back.
Wow. I'm so glad I didn't know you as a child. All right, look, part 4 was our desserts. 2 quick courses, basically, just to add things on. One was an icy birch with parsnip and reduced milk, which basically ate like a little bit like a creme brulee. It had like that layer of icy birch on top. It was served with something called sparkling redwood. And then the final was a nod, we were told, to Chef Jordan's past as a pastry chef. It was basically an entremet. It was called Layers, and it had black raspberry, it had almond and sheep's milk. I mean, at this point, we were so full we could barely walk, but we were, I don't know, as I recall, we were pretty stoked on these.
Dude, like, so I will say, so we had a couple add-ons, which I think, so if you have the base tasting menu, we would have been, I think, perfectly satisfied, right? Perfectly full.
Yes.
The add-ons, which we were thrilled to have, definitely like push you to like, oh, okay, I'm like full, like I'm like legit full. The entremet ending, Layers, where each layer is a different flavor of something, right? As you go down.
Yeah.
Fucking joke, dude. I keep saying that. I'm like, you're eating that, and you're like, this is a joke how good this is.
And beets. It had beets in it too. Yeah.
And what you as you push down through the different layers and scoop a bunch into one, the texture, the flavor, like it was crazy. The icy birch was like, to me, the icy birch was like a light bit of fun. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right. And then Layers was a joke. Also, really appreciate that they ended on like cold desserts. Both of them almost eat like an ice cream, right? Like a little bit.
Yeah.
And I felt like again on Layers, we're really full. Course number 14 drink pairings that we've killed all of as well, right? And I just like couldn't stop eating it. I just couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop eating it. Like it was crazy.
We talked about that, but it was a really substantial dessert.
Yeah.
Like it was like you would have gotten that at like a regular restaurant and been like, yeah, this is enough for 4 people probably,
Yeah.
you know? Like and like we each got one, and yet it was so good, so addictive, and had so many different layers to it, you know, given the name, that you kind of can't stop eating it. You just feel like if you stop eating it, you might not discover the next layer.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. 100%.
That wraps up the meal. They do the thing where they're like, don't worry, sit here as long as you want, but you don't really believe them because they have another seating going on as you're sitting there, and you know that you're going to eventually get kicked out. However, I did want to say that while Chef Jordan was not there at the start because apparently he was at Meteora, he did make an appearance and he came over and said hi.
What's crazy too is like after you've just eaten that food, you're like, what? Like you look at this dude and you're like, what a legend! Like you can't be normal,
dude.
You can't be normal. Like,
No, it's like meeting Jesus, literally. It was like, obviously I would have had respect for Chef Jordan no matter what because of everything he's achieved, but you have just witnessed all of his creations. You've experienced all of his creations. The Icelandic music has fully entered your psyche, right? And like you're in that trance state, and then all of a sudden you see your guru.
Yeah.
Like I was about ready to bow down, bro.
Yo, I'm like, where's the cult, bro? Let's sign up. What are the dues? I just paid $1,500 for this meal, but for 2 people to be clear. But like, what do I got to do? No, like, you almost like it's like you're a little bit in awe because you just had this food, and I kind of almost like you almost are like like overly respectful because you're like, God damn, man, like this was a blast.
No, I'm pretty sure I offered to give him my firstborn on the spot. Like I don't know what I promised him because just I was so fucking touched. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of this conversation. I kind of want to end with a couple questions for you. First of all, we've kind of nodded to it, but how did it live up to what you were expecting?
So blew the expectations out of the water. I walked I was like, okay. And again, important context, I think a little bit here in terms of my overall reaction is that I just had eaten multiple Michelin star meals in Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
World's 50 best meals, right? Like top 15, top 10 restaurants. And aside from the price point, which is what it is, this is LA. It's expensive, right? Like this is...
Yeah, I should say it's a $395 meal at face value per person. Plus, we got the dynamic pairing, which I think was $175 per person.
I think so, around there. Plus your boy was like, take all my money, tipped heavy. I was like, yeah.
Salt tipped heavy because Kiefer and Nico were absolute legends, and of course there's tax because thank you Gavin Newsom. But like it's so we ended up paying $750 a head. It's a lot of money. It's like a VIP Coachella experience.
If you go just for the tasting menu, which is not cheap in itself too, it would have been. I might just do that. I must do that for fun, man.
Yeah,
like save up a bit. Okay.
But bro, actually, when you think about that, like Morihiro Omakase is $400.
Yeah.
Like I would much rather experience this again than go to even the best Omakase in Los Angeles.
Totally. So going back to the question, walk away feeling just happy this restaurant exists in LA. Right?
Yeah.
Walk away just like appreciating that someone is attempting. And look, I have other like great restaurants in the city that are recognized by Michelin and others to go to. Right? Like I want to check them all out, including Meteor, where we're going to try and hit up with our friend Sammy. But I think this is like there is no reason in my mind that Puyol is on the world's 50 best in like the top 20, and this is not.
Yeah.
Right, like it just doesn't make sense to me, right? Like it is performing at like a world-class level of food, which I wasn't expecting. I thought like, oh, you're trying it, but sort of is working, sort of isn't, maybe. No, this is like literally like Quinto Neal, which was like my favorite meal in Mexico City in terms of and also 2 Michelin stars. I like this is better. This is like better. I just thought it was like, and Mexican food is my favorite food. It's like and like I was like, this is just something I like. I'm like proud to have in LA. I just got back here, but like you're proud to have it in fucking America. Like, honestly,
wow, like, you're getting nationalistic about this,
dude. No, but like literally, because again, I think in terms of the world stage, North America isn't recognized on World 50 Best yet. I think next year's the first time. There is like a sense that like the food in other places can reach a higher level. Like and like no, I can't wait to take Isa to this place.
You're gonna spend $1,500 on your sister.
That I've spent much more in the past. So like no, but like I'm like I can't wait to show people that we got this here. You know what I'm saying? Like this was special.
It's a true point of pride. I'm not gonna lie. I totally hear that. Like I am so fucking chuffed. I was riding so high off of this experience for days. I still am, honestly. Like I went for a run yesterday and I had still like euphoria thinking about it. It honestly like you feel the same way walking away from this dinner as you do after spending like a week at like an ayahuasca retreat, right? Not that I've ever done that, but like how I imagine you would feel walking away from an ayahuasca retreat, or like going to like an amazing music festival that you really, really love, or like an amazing vacation or something, right? Like, and that's where I think the experience thing actually holds.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it doesn't have the same hold. Look, I've been to some of my favorite restaurants. I walk away and I'm like, fuck, that was delicious. Next day I'm hungry again. And I don't think about it again, like for a while until I'm hungry again for that specific food. This had a different kind of aura to it. And like, I'm still feeling it. And like, it fucked me that good, basically.
Jesus. I don't even know. I was going to say do another like, oh, we're not critics thing or whatever. Like, yeah, it's a pretty penny. But it's a special night. It's
a vacation. Yeah, it's a special night. It's what it is. Look, I last question I wanted to ask you for this. I think I was going to ask you if you recommend it to people, but I think we have pretty heartily recommended it to people. I do have to say it's number 50 on the LA Times 101. right? And I think in the past years, it's been as low as number 101, you know. After having this meal, does it make you think, A, any differently of the 101, but B, do you think that it should be higher?
So, yeah. So the only thing it does, the 101, is confirm to me like the kind of critiques we had of it in terms of it being a ranking, right? And so we went back to Jay Gould's old 101s and we did that. And we noted that like something that's interesting is that Jay Gould basically did, I mean, Vespertine was his last number one on the list, right? And he did typically have fine dining leading up to the top. And I know it's impossible, like it's totally fake and impossible to like compare different restaurant experiences between like your Marisco's Jalisco and a Vespertine maybe, right? But like in some ways it's kind of not. Like maybe that's like in some ways it's sort of not. And having it at 50, Vespertine at 50, what, 4 spots ahead of Via's Tacos or whatever? Like,
oh fuck, you came prepared with that.
Like, come on, like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, it's like, I mean, it's a little bit. I mean, and that's no shots to Bill or Jen. I think they're trying to wrestle with. They didn't give like criteria for the ranking, and I think the only fair argument you could make really is that you're speaking to what restaurants are kind of the most capturing a moment in LA, or trying to capture a zeitgeist feeling. And look, we're gonna go to Hayato, we're gonna go to Kato, which are at the top of the list again, and I'm sure they'll be great. But
yeah,
this is one of the best things LA has to offer. Meteora, I believe, is not even on the fucking
list. It's not.
I searched it.
But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because you're multiple restaurants, same chef, right? You try to diversify a little bit. I get it, but like at some point, it's like, let's not make this too Mickey Mouse here. Let's not overthink this, right? Let's not overthink this.
I know they're Pep Guardiolaing the fuck out of this. You know what I mean? Like they're tinkering, they're overthinking. I just, I think I'm riding high, but I just think, like, to your point, like, dude, this is a treasure. It's a fucking treasure, like, that we have in the city, like architecturally, experientially, food wise, honestly. Not only should it be way higher, it should easily be in the top 10. It should easily be in the top 10 of the 101. And I'm less concerned about the 101 and more about the fact that it's never been listed as a James Beard semifinalist, never been on the world's 50 best, never even been with like a sniff of the world's 50 best, right?
To me, the world's 50 best is the more, like, James Beard, I think, and we talked about this, has tried to become more diverse in what it recognizes. I think James Beard might even take into account things like price point more. I might not be right about that, but I think there's there is a real reasonable thing to say, like, it's a certain level of eating and paying, right? Michelin 2-star, I think, is entirely appropriate. World's 50 best is a joke.
Yeah,
it's a joke. It's because I don't think they come to LA, right? Really, I mean,
no. Well, Kato got that San Pellegrino Emerging Restaurant Award or whatever.
Yeah. But like, it's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah. All right. So I think in conclusion, we kind of liked it.
Yep. Pretty good. Pretty
good. Look, we've gone on way too long. I'm gonna run through Chef's Kiss Big Miss for you, okay? Just because there's some stuff I really want to cover. We're gonna run through it, okay?
Let's do it.
Leading up to the Super Bowl, the LA Times' Daniel Hernandez wrote an article headlined, "It's time to drop tomato and onion from your guacamole, America." He basically argues that you should only have avocados, garlic, chili, sea salt, lime, and cilantro because the other stuff just dilutes it. Saul, is this a chef's kiss or a big miss?
This is 100% correct. It's like long, like I've had like 100% true. I think traditionally guacamole is made in that way. My only stop putting chunk tomatoes in your guacamole. Yeah, that's silly. Like, stop it. Chunks of onion as well. Don't. Something I have done at times, which I learned from the cookbook I use for Mexican food, is to grind onions, serrano, cilantro, salt into a paste, which you then put the avocado in, and then it's like coating it, and it's not like you just don't have like a chunk of onion for no reason. The only way I can see it, like, if you want to put, I've seen this, like a scoop of pico de gallo as a garnish on top. I guess people do that. You don't have to do that. Like,
no, fuck that shit. No.
No. Like, get tomatoes especially out of your guacamole.
Yeah.
Stop it.
100%. One of my favorite books, Man Who Ate Everything by Jeffrey Steingarten, the best food writer that ever lived. He had an entire chapter on guacamole and TJ style guacamole, and it's the only recipe I use to this day. It's literally just avocados, lime, garlic, and salt. Best stuff you've ever had. Okay, moving on to the next one. Speaking of the Super Bowl, there was a trailer dropped for our Super Bowl, aka season 22 of Top Chef. Tom, Gail, and Kristen are headed to Canada. The new season will include 2 Los Angeles chefs, Kat Turner of Highly Likely and Katiana Hong of Yangban. Saul, is the way you're feeling about season 22 a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait. It's been too long. Also, it feels like it's been kind of 2 years since we've watched Top Chef, because last season had some flaws, man. It had it was no Padma for the first time, some bumps in the road in terms of chef talent. Super excited to see LA represented not once but twice among the contestants. I can't wait for this, man. And also Gail's going home. Gail's going to Canada. I think this is going to be great. I can't wait.
Gail's coming home, lads. And of course, Kat Turner, former guest of the LA Food Pod, will be rooting her on, and we will be doing another round of Fantasy Top Chef this year, so stay tuned for that, dear listener. Next one, Guy Fieri launched his new restaurant, Chicken Guy, in Times Square, and Eater reports that it started with a splutter. Reporter Luke Fortnoy described the chicken as, quote-unquote, not that good. The chicken is shaped into cutlets and cooked in a pressure cooker, not a deep fryer. I'm sure the approach works elsewhere, but a Chicken Guy, the pressurized chicken, is dry and hard to get down, as if the cinnamon challenge was mixed with donkey sauce. The overcooked ends had the consistency of rock candy. Chef's kiss or big miss, Saul?
I think the panning Guy Fieri restaurant thing is sort of a tradition in food media. You know what I gotta say? I mean,
yeah.
The way you need to eat Guy Fieri's food, and the way I eat it, is you go to the Bob Hope Burbank Airport, you go to Terminal B.
Yes.
You go to the Guy Fieri's restaurant in there. You get a set of chicken tenders and fries.
Preach.
You get some ranch dipping sauce. You get some ketchup and a Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, I think they have. And you have that before your flight, and you're good to go. You're A+ traveling, and that's exactly where it belongs. That's exactly where it's great. And that's all I asked for from Guy Fieri.
Yeah, I'm gonna say big miss, because just don't talk bad about our patron saint Guy Fieri, okay? We're over that.
Your just to be clear, your patron saint.
LA Food Pod patron saint. All right, last one for you. In their game versus the LA Clippers at Intuit Dome, Bronny James missed 2 consecutive free throws, thereby winning the entire arena free Chick-fil-A. Saul, is nepotism a chef's kiss or a big miss?
Hey, look, I mean, shout out Intuit Dome. Shout out poor Bronny. Couldn't stand up to the wall, man. I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for that kid. He should be in college. He should be having a good time at USC. Yeah. It's not right. I don't think it's right. It's nepotism. Big miss for the most part. There are good examples. There are good examples of good nepotism, but for the most part, I feel bad for all involved.
The only good example of good nepotism is you being on this pod. All right, bro. I have one shitty Yelp review for you this week to close things out. It's just such a good one, I have to include it. So I have been accused by my wife of holding on to things for way too long. Physical possessions, like I'm a hoarder. I never throw shit out, okay? When obviously the fires happened and we had to evacuate our home. And one of the things we grabbed was our file case, right? We had to grab our file case, with all our
paperwork,
important documents, those things, right? Things you would never want to burn. And it was a great opportunity for us to consolidate these things, since she had her file and my file, right? So she asked me, go through your stuff, throw out the things you don't need, and keep the things you do. I went through the file, and I had probably 75 documents in there. I ended up keeping 3 of those documents, including one of the things I found in there that I ended up throwing out that I thought was so important that I needed to hold on to was a business card from an Elder Smith and an Elder Martins, I believe, from when I was 18 years old. Turns out I had opened the door to Mormon missionaries, and they had come in and told me about the gospel and Joseph Smith, and I had deemed their business card so important that I put it in my critical files folder and have had it for 15 years. Saul, is my tendency to hold on to things. How many stars are you going to give me for that?
I don't. So in terms of this, at least it's just documents. That's funny. That's silly that you kept held on for that long. Also, through multiple moves, dude. Why? That's freshman year of college. What were you when were you I might need to call elders? I might Just might have to.
I think I still might need to call Elder Smith, honestly. Like, I think I'm a little sad I threw it out. I should have added the number to my phone before I did.
I can't stand hoarding. You have to know what's truly important. Like, I have a folder. I have a folder that I keep with me no matter where I go, which is just all the all the most meaningful, basically, like cards and notes and like whatever I've gotten from friends over time, right? Like people who've like, because I'm so beloved, I typically get like really heartfelt people who need to like put their feelings into words about me, you know, so they send to me and I hold on to that forever. It's the best. And they're gifts, right? That's like stuff that would never be replicable. Elder Smith still has their business cards. Worst comes to worst, you can just find another Mormon. It'll be fine.
That's true. That's true.
If this extends to things like items, can't deal with that. You gotta toss it. Something my mom actually, I do this too much, but like when I move, as I recently did, I'm like, fuck it, leave it. Leave it behind. It's fine. We'll get new shit. Left a couch back in Seattle, left some chairs, left like all like my real estate agent who's helped me sell the condo is like, well, you want me to get rid of all this? And I'm like, I don't even want, if I come back and I see anything in this apartment, you're fired. I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. Because just get it gone. 1 star for hoarding. Yeah, let it go. All
right. Elder Smith, if you're out there, I'm still curious. So you know where to find me. Leave me a DM and leave us 5 stars, please, on Spotify and Apple. Saul, good job by you, buddy. See you for the Super Bowl.
Take care, bud. Stop saying that.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to Father Sal, as always, for making the time for us. And thank you to you, dear listener. If you like what you heard today, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts. Please leave us a rating, a review. Seriously, all that stuff really helps us make our way up the charts, both on Apple and Spotify, and get our podcast to more people like you. We'll be back next week with another epic episode. But if you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, even our website, the LA Countdown. That's TheLaCountdown. You can also find us on Instagram at LA Food Pod. That's LAFoodPod.